Oh boy, there's some juicy next generation console upgrades leak. Let's look into this. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I'm sure you've heard a number of different leaks and rumors about next generation console upgrades, or should I really say current generation console upgrades, aka PlayStation 5 Pro or Xbox Series X Pro, or however you want to call these upgraded consoles. And there's been a number of leaks from tech YouTubers, and I'm sure you remember that the TCL leak from that TV manufacturer from a couple of months back, where they were talking about these upgraded consoles. Obviously that was like pure speculation on their part, but you know, I'm sure it's more about like what they expect to be coming in the future. But this one, the latest leak, really, it's not even a rumor, it's a leak, is very interesting because it suggests that these upgraded consoles dev kits are already out in the wild and developers have access to them, right? Which is crazy interesting to me, of course, and that's why I really wanted to talk about it. Now, this information is a courtesy of wccftech.com, and as always, you will find the link in the description below. And the most important part of the article reads: today, rumors on mid-gen upgrades come back in full force thanks to MaDz 2. The renowned GTA leaker who first revealed that Rockstar Games had cancelled its planned Red Dead Redemption and Grand Theft Auto 4 remasters due to poor reception of GTA Trilogy, the Definite Edition. That rumor has been corroborated by Kotaku as well, so looks like that guy was right in the past. Basically, that's what it's all about. A few hours ago, MaDz 2 wrote the following post on GTA forums: most AAA studios should have received the dev kits of mid-life upgrades, or should receive them by the start of the new year. He later confirmed this is based on actual information rather than a guess. If that's the case, then the mid-gen upgrades of PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X could release in late 2023. This would track with previous generation, as PlayStation 4 Pro launched 3 years after PlayStation 4, while the Xbox One X launched a year later. Now, obviously, this is super interesting. Now, I don't know that MaDz 2 guy. Looks like he's got some credibility among press and stuff, right? So let's just go with the flow. Let's say, yeah, he's got some insight into development of this game. But the thing is that it's interesting, and I would actually still wait for more press people to come with any sort of comment on that, because like if this is true and if more and more developers are getting these dev kits already, I'm sure that will be talked about very soon, right? And like I have no reason not to believe him, really, and it kind of makes sense, just like this article says that PlayStation 4 Pro was launched literally 3 years after PlayStation 4. So yeah, 2023 would be like end of 2023 would be 3 years after Xbox Series and PlayStation 5 consoles launched. Now, when it comes to specs and the technology, you know, there's no mention of that. We can only speculate. And this article actually speculate a little bit. They speculate that it may be on a 5 nanometers process. Kind of makes sense because that process is actually available. It will, you know, okay, they talk about advanced chiplet packaging. I don't think that's going to happen because it's too early for that, because even AMD has been delaying this particular technology for years now. I remember talking about chiplets when the previous the current consoles have been first announced, and also chiplets could potentially be a problem from backwards compatibility perspective, right? So would probably be also more expensive to produce. So I would not expect these consoles to use chiplets. or as they call it, advanced chiplet packaging. Obviously, re-architected compute units, that may be the thing. So they may be using RDNA 3 architecture, next gen AMD Infinity Cache. I'm not really sure about that because the current gen consoles don't use that. So I'm not sure if that would actually, it's quite expensive. So, that may be actually cut out. Enhanced ray tracing capabilities, I can see that happening. Refined adaptive power management, of course. I mean, new nodes, so obviously much more power efficient. They're talking about 50% performance / watt versus RDNA 2 improvement, right? Makes sense because 5 nanometers offers that kind of improvements. So when it comes to, let's assume that these consoles would be based on RDNA 3 in some form and would be produced on 5 nanometers process. So if we've got 50% performance watt improvement, that means that these chips could be the same size as they are right now, but would offer 50% more transistors. So potentially 40-50% more compute units, but on top of that, you can actually clock them higher as well, because that's usually what happens. So not only you get more compute shaders, right, but also on top of that, you get higher clock speeds. And let's face it, when it comes to Xbox Series X, that console is very, I would say, conservative when it comes to clock speeds, right? Because if you look at what's going on with PlayStation 5, their clock speeds are way beyond what Xbox offers, right? So that helps PlayStation 5 to push a little bit more performance, that's for sure, over, because that's a different approach that Xbox went with and PlayStation went with, less compute units but higher clock speeds. That's what PlayStation 5 is all about. Listen, this is apparently a leak. So this guy says that it's not a rumor. This is like the information he's been given by developers. So that would be cool. And it makes sense because it's end of 2022, and if these consoles were to release next year, end of next year, it makes sense that developers, at least like the biggest of the developers, would start getting these dev kits so they can familiarize themselves with them. And technology changes, and it's actually funny because I made a video today about Xbox Series X and how does it compare to like the latest RTX 4090 graphics card, and I said that it's a massive difference, like 3-4 times more performance on the RTX 4090 side of things. That kind of improvement, if we talking about like 50% more transistors, right? Same die size, of course, because that's what we've seen with Xbox One and Xbox One X later. Same die size, right? But different production process, and thanks to the fact that they could cram more transistors in the chip and run the chip at higher clock speeds, that where the extra performance boost came from, right? So they could do the same. So I would imagine that like twice the performance, because if you consider more transistors, more compute units on the die, and higher clock speeds plus some improvements in IPC, so more efficient compute units basically, that would probably translate to around like double the performance on the GPU side of things. But on top of that, I would expect a little bit at least upgrade in terms of memory, so maybe 24 gigabytes of memory. I think that was the original plan. There was a lot of rumors about Xbox Series X, having 24 gigabytes. That was the original plan, but they had to cut it a little bit because of the price of the memory and that kind of stuff. So now they could deliver 24 gigabytes. and probably higher clock speeds when it comes to CPU as well, so that would boost performance as well. Guys, I know it's kind of weird because we still haven't seen really like a proper next gen games just yet, but it makes sense. Technology doesn't stand still, and it makes sense for to produce these consoles, really, like for me, for many others. And I understand that there's people that will say, I don't care, I don't need these next gen, these upgraded consoles. I'm totally fine with Xbox Series X or even Xbox Series S, and I'm totally fine with it. But there is a market for these consoles, and there's people that would love to play to use them, right? And I'm not even talking about 8K, because some people may say, oh, why would you need that? Well, better frames. Like I said that in my previous videos where I was talking about these upgraded consoles. Well, 120 frames per second games at higher resolution, like not necessarily 1080p, but like 1440p, for example, or more games that would run at 1440p, 4K, 60 frames per second with ray tracing, because RDNA 3 actually offers, better, apparently is supposed to offer better RT capabilities. Considering, assuming that these upgraded consoles would ship with some form of RDNA 3 architecture, because this is pure speculation on my part right now, of course. So we'll see, but interesting. I'm actually looking forward to hear from other people about that, because I haven't really seen anyone actually commenting on that, and nobody big, if you know what I mean. And there's been a number of YouTubers. I may actually reach out to a couple of people and ask questions about it. So if I learn more about it, I'll let you know. But until then, thanks a lot, guys, for support. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video on social media. That would be greatly appreciated. And I will see you all in the next one. Take care.